As the water has heated up, so has the fishing. The bass have moved into deeper water structure in fresh, and in the salt, the jetties, wrecks, and hard bottoms seem to be the place to find redfish and snapper. There's also some cool tricks tonight on the workbench with Dave, so get ready because it's time for the Texas Insider Fishing Report.
Welcome to the Texas Insider Fishing Report. Presented by Yamaha.
Well, it's that time of week again to sit back, relax, and get ready for your next weekend of catching right here on the Texas Insider Fishing Report. Rick, I cannot believe June has already come and gone, but we are welcoming July with open arms as we celebrate Independence Day this weekend, and it's a perfect time to get out and catch some fish.
And Independence Day also means you're getting 1 year older.
I am. I'll be 31 this year.
What?
I know, it's crazy. I'm in my 30s now.
Wow.
This is no joke, guys. All right, well, this is obviously one of... No, thank you very much. This is one of my favorite times of year between summer vibes, great fishing, and red, white, and blue, of course. But before we get to our captains, let's see how Dave is vibing over at the workbench. You've got a nice tablecloth there, Dave.
Isn't that very nice green? We're going to be cleaning some fish today, a little kingfish we got, and we're going to, Rick's going to do a red snapper. So we're going to show you how to fillet them up.
Love it. That's great. That? It's about time we fillet some fish on this show. All right, let's get this fun weekend started in the STARTRON Middle Fresh region with Matt Loescher, where summertime is in full swing. So Matt, tell us all about the fun we're going to have this weekend.
All right, Brie. Well, you're going to want to make sure you bring a fan with you because it's been awfully hot out there, but the fish are biting. So the largemouth this week, they're really settling into their summertime haunts now. You know, that water temperature's really gotten up there all over the Middle Fresh region. And this is some of the best fishing all year, in my opinion, because fish get to be in really predictable places, and they usually stay put for a while, which is why I really like it. Jared Poole down there in the lower end of my region, he's got, Hill Country Hammer Guide service there on LBJ, and they're up to their old tricks again, catching big old giant bass. He says the water temperature there is up to 87 now, and the fish are hanging out in about 15 to 20 feet of water on rock piles. He said they're catching those fish on a Carolina rig, and he also mentioned that there is a good bite on topwater plugs early in the morning and then again late in the evening. And he sent me some photo evidence of one of those big bass being caught here recently of Mr. Alan Barrington there. Caught a 11-pound, 4-ounce summertime fish, man. I mean, just a giant, skinny summertime bass. I couldn't believe what that thing would weigh, back in the wintertime.
Wow.
Big giant. All right, now up at Richland Chambers, Mr. Thurman Selman has been finding some big bass in deep water as well. He says that the bigger bass up there are coming from around 15 to 25 foot of water, and he said they're catching them off hard bottom areas like tank dams, humps, and road beds. He said the best baits for him lately have been deep diving crankbaits and Carolina rigs. He says on the deep diving crankbait, various shad colors have been good, so just kind of experiment with that. And then on the Carolina rig, for the plastic, green pumpkin and watermelon red have been the best colors. He also mentioned that you can catch some fish around docks or laydowns that are near the deep water. Just the fish aren't quite as big as the ones that are on that offshore stuff. So you can go up there and catch you some numbers and maybe go out deep and look for a bigger one. Now here at Toledo Bend, it's a similar story to the other two lakes. A lot of the lakes are fishing pretty similar right now. The water temp's in the upper 80s, and the water's a little bit stained, but the hard bottom spots, like the road beds, and the areas with good deep cover, like stumps or laydowns, in 15 to 20 foot of water, are producing bass of all sizes. And crankbaits and worms are going to be the ticket here as well. You want to get in there and make good contact with that cover, put that worm right in those trees, or bang that crankbait into it, and you'll catch some nice ones. Now, coming in next this week, I'm going to rank them as second here this week, is the crappie. Here at Toledo Bend, they're still biting pretty well. Only reason I'm saying they're not as good is because we're having to work a little harder to catch them, but the fish are still really stacked up. We're just kind of having to fish a few more spots than we were before. We kind of got spoiled. It was a really, really good bite there for a few weeks. So the bites just slowed down a little bit, but we're still catching lots of them. Like I said, we're just having to work a little harder for it. They're in about 15 to 30 foot of water, hanging out around the timber and the bridge pilings. And minnows and the panfish assassin jigs are definitely still the ticket. That pumpkin seed shad and the tiny shad that panfish assassin makes is still catching them really good for me. And it's just a ton of fun when they bite that jig, man. That's really fun catching those big slabs on that thing. And I've got another photo here for you. The Ortego family with a nice table full of crappie there. I forget how many we had that day, but we had some good-sized fish and had a lot of fun catching them. And then lastly, I'm going to bring up the catfish. I haven't talked about them in a while, but I've noticed lately that they've been just fighting like crazy. I don't know if they just finished up their spawn, I guess, and they're making their way back out to the deeper water and really ganging up and feeding, or what the deal is. I don't chase them a lot, but, man, we've seen a ton of them while we're crappie fishing. And then, off to the side of some of our crappie spots, there's a lot of shad stacked up, and those catfish are just piled up on the bottom down there in about 15 to 20 foot of water. So just look for those large concentrations of shad, 15 to 20 foot, drop a live minnow or some cut bait down there, and you can load the boat with them.
All right, bud, thank you so much. Good report. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the Middle Fresh region. He says the largemouth bass are biting crankbaits and worms in 15 to 25 feet of water. The crappie are in 15 to 30 feet around the timber, biting on minnows and jigs. And then don't forget about those catfish. They're in 15 to 20 feet around the shad.
All right, Rick, let's get settled in the ALVEY Reels Lower Coast region with Captain Chad Kinney and see what tips he has for us when it comes to some inshore and offshore hookups. Go for it, Chad.
So the first tip is the weather's going to be great this weekend. Been looking at that for inshore, offshore, which is going to be water clarity, better inshore, and better sea conditions and everything else. So we'll get to the fishing report of the side of this. So there's been some great fishing still at the lower coast jetties, Port Aransas jetties, Port Mansfield jetties, South Padre Island. There's been redfish there, and there's some black drum showing up in some deeper holes and drop-offs and Brownsville ship channel stuff. So the redfish, we've been talking about this for a while. They're still holding around the jetties and with the better conditions, but the clarity is really a huge deal. We've had a lot of rain in South Texas. I've talked to guys up north, Colorado River and stuff like that. It's been draining out, a lot of rain. So it gets the muddies up the water, Rio Grande down here, Arroyo City down here. So that's been dirtying it up a little bit, which causes it to get a little bit tougher when it gets in that system like that. So the best bet when you're doing that is they're going to maybe hit more on smells. So get with some cut mullet, fish bites, menhaden, anything, and fish on the bottom, and go ahead and if you're going to go ahead if you're using this, go ahead with the ALVEY 60 to 80 size, which is perfect without 20 to 30 pound braid, and a Diamond Memorial fluorocarbon 60 pound leader with like an Eagle Claw 7/0 works really good. We've been talking about that around the jetties. Now what's going to happen, I think, this water's going to start clearing up. We haven't had as much rain. It'll take a little bit. It'll settle down. The sediment will go to the bottom, of course, and fishing will really start picking up. Going over to the drum fishing, it's kind of hard to target these guys. It's better when they're in the flats and you can kind of see them. But right now, the best action is they're commercially targeted fish, but they're sitting there on the drop-offs, the washouts, they're on the Brownsville chip channel. They're in that 15 foot of water, 8 foot big holes and stuff like that. So they're going to congregate. So the best way to do is find these holes, use a 1/4 ounce jig head and put a piece of fish bite on it, and let it sink and stay on the bottom. Fresh dead shrimp also works really good. Frozen shrimp also works really good. If you're going to do this, go ahead and peel the shell off the back and then pin it on the Eagle Claw with a 1/4 ounce jig head, like I said, and let it sit there on the bottom. Just sit there, let it pick it up, set the hook, and you'll have plenty of fight, and you'll have a good time doing that. Offshore, been talking about snapper fishing a bunch, which is still the go-to spot right now. It's really good in federal and state waters right now. The blue water is still way out. Right down here where we're at in the lower coast, it's about 100 miles out, which is really far for this time of year. So right now, I've been trying to tell everybody concentrate on your bottom fish to get some producing stuff there. State and federal, like I said, still open. Can be really good. The current's starting to get a little slower than normal, and the crab hatch is getting a little bit better, which means those crabs are getting bigger, so the bite's getting better and better as the day goes on. Each day's getting better, so that's going to turn it on really, really, really well. I was just actually out yesterday, and the blue water is not in, but the water clarity, instead of like a 5 foot visibility in the same spot, looked at about 15 to 20. So look for this to start even get better even this weekend. So not talking about fishing here, but I'm going to talk about some key tips when you're looking at blue water. We're talking about it. You're out there 100 miles. Right now is where the blue water is actually out of true blue water. And it seems to keep pushing in and out this year. But right now, what I saw really promising, kind of keep an eye if you're thinking like you're snapper fishing this and that, but look ahead to where you want to go deeper later. The current's actually pushing from inshore, offshore. So that's got to stop at some point. So I'll tell you guys next week where it's at. I'll be going deep. But when it stops to that current coming in from offshore, it's going to create a rip and it's going to push everything together with the calmer conditions. It's going to make the weed lines and everything else to go ahead and target your wahoo and your dorado, your tuna, your billfish. So when you get to that point, that's what to do. So that blue water, when it starts hitting, it's going to keep on moving in closer and closer. Sometimes it makes it all the way to the beach. But once it hits that 30 to 40 mile stretch off down here in the lower coast, that's what you're really looking for to bring in the pelagics.
All right, thank you so much, Chad. Great report from the ALVEY Lower Coast region. It's time for the Shallow Sport Boats Hotspots. He says that inshore, the Brownsville Ship Channel is holding some snook and some black drum along the deeper pylons. And then offshore, federal and state water snapper fishing remains excellent along the lower coast structure.
If you find that blue water. All right, keep your fish catching game faces on, because up next we're catching huge bass with our lower fresh region guide. And Dave is showing us a little something at the workbench for rigs and techniques.
A little bit of red snapper action.
Nice.
He's pretty, isn't he?
He is
Coming
beautiful.
over, Dave.
Rick's excited. We'll be back.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Fenwick. Bahio. Fresh eyes for a rich life. GARMIN. Plot your paradise. FiberTex. Leaders in fiberglass fabrication and repair. Sportsman's Adventures. Fishing for adventure. Penn. Let the battle begin. And Skeeter Performance Fishing Boats. Eat, sleep, fish.
Yamaha's reputation for saltwater reliability is driven by the 4.2-liter V6 Offshore's 97% reliability and overall performance. Reimagined with new advantages like built-in digital electric steering for incredible responsiveness and exhaust rerouting for more powerful reverse thrust. The legacy of the reliable Yamaha 4.2-liter V6 continues, now more refined and capable than ever. Yamaha, reliability starts here.
Are you tired of fighting foul odors in your car? The easy-to-use Auto Odor Eliminator from Starbright uses the power of chlorine dioxide to eliminate even the worst smells. From cigarettes and pets to fast food and sweaty kids, this EPA-registered chlorine dioxide technology fights the odor-causing bacteria, the source of the stink. Don't just cover it up. Eliminate it with the Auto Odor Eliminator from Starbright.
For the Bay and beyond, team up with the best and rule the Bay in a Skeeter. Built for big water or running the flats, Skeeter has a Bay boat designed for you. Proven with 20 consecutive NMMA Consumer Satisfaction Awards. Versatility, control, performance, and design. Visit your local dealer or online at SkeeterBoats.com. Skeeter, it's more than a boat, it's a lifestyle.
Have you ever felt your heart pounding while feeling the power of a tarpon in the Florida Keys? Or experienced the changing colors of a mahi as you bring it on board? Whether it's in the Bahamas, the Florida Keys, Guatemala, or the Florida Everglades, Murphy's Law Sports Fishing has the ability to guide you to the fish of a lifetime. To book your trip today, call 305-246-0673 or go to murphyslawsportfishing.com. So we're here at the workbench, and you know, Dave, we thought it'd be cool to do rigs and techniques and talk about how to fillet a fish.
Yeah, you've talked me into my worst nightmare over here when I start cleaning mine in front of all these people.
Yes.
I don't want to turn it into hamburger in front of everybody.
So why don't we talk about some of the key things here?
Well, you want to have 2 or more very sharp knives. You know, it's always good to have 2, because if one gets dull and you don't have a sharpener or it doesn't work or whatever, I always like to have 2 very sharp knives at hand. I like to have a knife sharpener as well. Paper towels, a good clean water source, obviously. You want to dry the fish off really good before you start, because if he's real slimy, he's hard to handle. And a colder fish is easier to clean. You know, the colder he is, the firmer the flesh, the easier the cuts, and the cleaner the cuts. And bring you some Ziploc bags so you can put your stuff in it when you're done.
All right, so to start off with,
a regular fillet of a snapper here.
Red snapper, we're gonna come right in there behind that pectoral fin. And I like to push down through. And then I spin them around so that I can actually see the edge of his backbone.
Yeah, you want to run the knife right along the backbone under the skin.
And then once I get down here, I'm gonna push to the tail, I'm running it along the vertebrae. Now I'm just gonna pull back up on this fillet like so, and that way I can go around the ribs and not dull my knife. You see? Now I've left the ribs there. I'll have to just cut the little Y part out of the deal. Here's where a lot of people make, sorry Dave.
No worries.
Here's where a lot of people make mistakes, is when they start to fillet, they think they're sawing with the knife.
Right.
I like to leave it attached, keep the blade at an angle, and then pull.
Right.
As I'm pulling, now I can actually get that skin off.
Yeah, you did okay.
Yeah, I did all right. I recovered. The knife's so daggum sharp.
It is very sharp.
So the same thing you would do the next side. I'm gonna flip him over. Watch, this time I'm not gonna describe what we're doing here. We're just gonna go through it. Boom. We can fillet this sucker pretty quick. Now you're gonna do a kingfish for us.
Yeah, I'm just gonna do a really quick steak, and then I'm gonna show you what I call the fake steak.
The fake steak.
Yeah, which is kind of a steak, but it's not.
Yeah. All right, we'll do this. Come on down along the edge.
Yeah, be good with that, because that's what you're eating tonight.
I know. The same thing. We're just gonna hold the knife at an angle, and then I pull on the
Pull
fish.
the skin.
Yeah, and a good sharp knife, you don't leave anything,
Right.
see? And then you're gonna wanna just cut out that one little V part.
Yeah.
Go ahead, show me how to do the kingfish. Now, the key here too, Dave, is we need to get rid of this so that we don't contaminate it
Correct.
with that. So we'll
Right.
drop that over in the water,
Yeah. Here
or we'll put
take
it in
all
the
this.
Ziploc.
Boom. All right, for the kingfish, now, most of the time when you're going to do a king, they do a steak, because you're going to grill him when you're done. You know, you're just going to steak him out. And that means, it pretty just means just cutting all the way through the fish from top to bottom. You know, and I usually always start at this end because it's thicker at this end and I can hold it better. If I start at this end and go, then I'm getting smaller and smaller
Right.
to hold on to. So if you have a really good sharp knife,
Right.
you can just steak these, you know, you
And
just
you
cut
can
them
make
about
it
like
to
that.
whatever your thickness is, correct?
Correct. And then you just steak them out like that. And a kingfish is good because you get all the meat when you do that.
Right.
Now,
A wahoo the same way, correct?
same thing with a wahoo. Now, when I want to fake steak them, is I pretty much do the same thing you did with the fillet. I go all the way around, and I cut the fillet off, because this knife is razor sharp, just like you want it. And you say you go all the way through. All right, like there. And we'll pull the fillet off. And to do the fake steak, what I'll do is I'll see how wide I want it, and I'll cut it all the way down to the skin, and then I'll cut it all the way through. And then I can fold them over. I cut it too far with that one. It's so sharp. This knife is so sharp.
And then you fold it back against itself.
Fold it on the skin. But I'm cutting through the skin every time because this knife, like I
That
said,
half goes super sharp.
it is. I can't even get to the skin without cutting it. Yeah, there.
There you go. Good job.
And that's how you pop those things out.
Now, the other thing you guys got to remember, too, is that in a big redfish, a snapper, a fish, a triple tail has big scales. A lot of times guys will leave the skin on, and they can put that on the grill so that it doesn't burn up the meat.
Correct. The skin
They call it
acts-
on the half shell,
Yeah,
so
the
to
skin
speak.
acts as a barrier from all the intense heat. I like to use a cage as well. When I do pompanos or other, delicate fish, you can buy a little cage that you can put stuff in and then clamp it down, and then you can flip stuff easy, without having everything fall apart on you on the grill.
The stinkiest handshake. Smell of vision.
My hand is the stinky one over
When
here.
snapper meets kingfish. I love it. All right. In the lower
Good
fresh
job,
region,
Dave.
we've got options, people. Choke Canyon, Buck Canyon, Bastrop, Somerville, and Fayette County will all be producing some All-American fun this weekend. So let's check in with Matt Reed and see what ideas he has for us.
Oh, I might have an idea or two. Fishing's been really good down south. The hotter it is down here, the better it is.
Mike Bates has sent me a report from Choke Canyon. I'm going to start out there. If you like shallow water fishing, Choke Canyon is the place to be right now. The bass have gotten used to all the new water and new cover from the recent rise. There's willows, weesats, Johnson grass, hydrilla, all types of cover in the shallow water now. The bass are scattered, so you need to cover a ton of water, but once you find them, they're bunched up. Top water spinnerbaits and swim baits have been the best. The hydrilla is beginning to top out in the deeper water, and even up in that shallow area. Once it does, it's going to limit the areas you can get into in that shallow cover because it'll get so thick. But it's also great habitat for the fish. Mike says his numbers have been down a bit lately, but bigger fish have been showing up. Each of his last 3 trips, they've had one over 8 pounds. Going to throw a report in from Falcon. I'm down here right now, and it's phenomenal. The fish are in that 10 to 15 foot range on rock. The last 3 days, our numbers have been, moderate in the 20 to 25 fish number, but our best 5 each day has been between 35 and 40 pounds. So, yesterday we had 2 9s. It's just been really good. Get you a big worm, get out on those rocks, and catch you some giants. Brian Cotter sent me a report from the Austin area. Lake Buchanan's fishing really well. Target the rock piles early, throwing a crankbait and soft plastics. The best ones are the shallow piles in that 2 to 10 foot range. Sun gets up, move out to the deep tree line, throw a belly-weighted fluke or a shaky head trick worm to get you a lot of bites. Lake Bastrop is getting pretty good for the schooling bass like they do every summer. Look for those at both ends of the dam right now. Throw a small top water like a torpedo, and you can also catch some on a shaky head under after they go down. There's a few bites on the grass lines on a frog. Those will be an occasional big bite. You just don't get too many bites a day doing that. Canyon Lake is fishing really well early in the morning, throwing a walking style top water. Out on the flats that have trees mixed in out there, the water's come up into some trees. Also later on, flip those trees with a crawl worm to catch you a lot of fish once the sun pushes them into the cover. Greg Boyd sent me a report from Somerville. The large bass are biting a little slower than they were last week, but it's still pretty good. It's 3.5 feet high, so they're still in the flooded cover. Best techniques have been the hollow-bodied frog, buzz baits, and flipping green pumpkin flipping baits into the brush in that 3 to 5 foot range. Fayette County has been very consistent. The biggest and most concentrated areas with fish are now out on the main lake points and drop-offs and road beds. Carolina rigs, heavy shaky heads, rigged with soft plastic stick baits and trick worms have been best. Green pumpkin magic, red bug, and watermelon candy have been the colors you need to target in that 15 to 20 foot range. Got a picture there, one of Greg's customers with a big old Fayette County bass. You always like to look down at the tonsils.
Nice.
Got moving on to the white bass and hybrids. Lake Somerville is still kicking them out. They're biting very well early. They're schooling, active on the lower end of the lake in the mornings. Best baits have been big, bright, chartreuse swim baits or slab spoons in that 8 to 10 foot range around Welch Park in the dam. You have to keep up with those fish on your electronics because they are roaming, following the bait fish. And that's a picture of Greg there with a big old hybrid that he's caught this week. And that's what I got.
All right, man.
Nice.
Sounds like you got a lot, but you keep coming with those 9-pounders. I'm going to have to come down there to redeem myself. All right, bud. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the FiberTech Lower Fresh Hotspots Choke Canyon. The bass are getting adjusted to the new flooded cover. Get shallow in the green stuff and cover water with spinner baits, top waters, and swim baits. Once you find them, they are going to be grouped up, and the big ones are starting to show up every single day.
Rick, you shake your head every week when it comes to
He kills me. He kills me.
You do need to go back to redeem yourself. It's not a question. All right, we have a new raffle to tell you all about. Maverick, the official shallow water skiff of CCA Florida, has stepped up in a big way. One lucky winner will take home a brand new Maverick 17 HP XS, complete with a 70 HP Yamaha motor and custom Ameritrail trailer. So go to ccaflorida.org/Maverick and register to win. Why not?
right.
Got nothing to lose.
There's plenty of shallow water in Texas to run that boat.
There is. All right, the Fish Bites Upper Coast and Upper Fresh regions are on standby for your 4th of July weekend reports, and we'll also be talking with a special guest from Fish Bites. So stay hooked. And to keep up with everything fishing in Texas, make sure to head on over to our website, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and to see new fishing adventures along with reports, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Captain Rick Murphy. See you soon.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Contender Boats, always in the game. Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin, the best lures, period. ALVEY Reels, a better way to fish. Berkeley, your fish, our science. Murphy's Law Sport Fishing. Book your trip today at murphyslawsportfishing.com. And Penn, let the battle begin.
The Yamaha VMAX V6 SHO continues to deliver the level of performance that pro bass and multi-species anglers demand. Underneath a bold and aggressive new look, an upgraded charging system with 40% more charging power meets the amped-up demand for today's advanced electronics. The VMAX SHO, raw power, reliability, and exhilarating performance for every angler who loves the sport enough to invest in the best. Yamaha, reliability starts here.
For more than 20 years, anglers everywhere have come to know one thing, that nothing says no to fish bites. We are the Fish Bites Nation, and this is your invitation. So grab some fish bites and get busy casting, because you can't join the nation without doing the catching. Ask for Fish Bites or Fish Bites Fight Club lures, or visit fishbites.com.
Today's Power Pull tip is about the new Power Pull Charge power management station. The cool thing about the Charge is it replaces 3 systems on your boat. It replaces your traditional 3 or 4 bank battery charger, so when you're at the house you plug it into the wall. The Power Pull Charge is going to optimize and balance your batteries like nothing ever out there. It also replaces your on-the-run charger, so anytime you've got the Yamaha running, it's going to replace the power in your trolling motor batteries and your cranking batteries all day while you're running from spot to spot. And the third thing it does, it's got an emergency start feature in it. So if you're ever out there and your cranking battery dies and you can't get the motor started, go to the Sea Monster app, transfer the power, and you're good to go. Get back to the dock. For any more information about the Power Pull Charge, you can go to powerpull.com or stop by one of your local dealers. That's your Power Pull tip.
Well, as you can tell, joining me is Scott Jones from Fish Bites. You know, Scott, Fish Bites has been around a long time. I can remember tipping jigs a long time ago. Why don't you tell everybody how we all got started?
Well, Fish Bites is a result of a lifelong passion for fishing and decades of scientific research by Dr. William Carr. And he wanted to develop a bait that was easy to use, not messy, and that would catch a wide variety of fish, and that you could use for a variety of different fishing styles.
So basically, you have the strips and you have some chunks. It was designed, obviously, for doing some surf fishing, correct?
Correct.
Originally.
It is the primary I mean, it's one of the main baits used in surf fishing today all over the world right now.
So let me ask you, how many scents and how many different colors do we have in the Easy strips?
In the Easy baits, which is these right here, there's 5 different scents, and we have shrimp, squid, sand flea, crab, and clam. And there's a wide variety of colors depending upon the bait scent.
So a few years ago, because it obviously made sense, you guys came up with some shapes. So tell us about the different shapes.
Well, right there, if you have it in your hand, is the fighting shrimp, and those are available in 8 colors. In fact, all of our Fight Club baits are available in 8 colors. We have the fighting shrimp, which you have right there. We have the butt kicker, which is our paddle tail. We also have a dirty boxer, which is a curly tail.
Right.
And we have a jerk bait, which we call our brawler.
So one of the little tricks, first off, I want to talk about this little trick here. When you pull this out of the bag, what do you like to do?
When I pull that out of the bag, this is for the butt kicker specifically, I like to pull on it, give it a good pull. That bait's very durable, and then twist it like you're reeling in a fish. It'll really increase the action of that tail, and that's what you want in the water.
You know, one of my favorite fish bites, as you know, is the hammerfish, the shrimp. And the reason why I like this so much is because of the way the legs are shaped. They face forward, but as we reel it through the water, they sit there and they, a Rick Murphy word, a jubilate. They do all this little shaking. You know, and certainly this is a perfect application. You could tie on a piece of leader to your favorite popping cork, to your favorite rattling cork. You know, what are we missing? Talk a little bit about the chunks.
Well, I want to talk about that real quick, is the durability factor of all these baits right here. These Fish Club, Fight Club baits are very durable. You can catch many fish on one bait. I mean, you can take the pinfish, you know, repeated strikes, and still have a bait to fish with. And all of these baits are the same.
It's called fish bites, bub. Easy strips.
Yeah, the Easy strips.
But it works really well. You can apply it to everything. I apply it to bucktail jigs. We apply it to all different stuff. How do we find out more about fish bites?
You can go to fishbites.com. We'll give you all the information. It's also available in over 2,000 independent retailers, big box stores, just about anywhere you want to go.
All right, man. You did a good job. Thank you so much for coming. Brie, we got to go to another region.
Yes, and Rick applies it as mashed potatoes too, as a snack. All right, the heat is on in the Fish Bites Upper Coast region, and if Captain Carl Weston has anything to say about it, we're going to get our fish on. So get us excited about the weekend, Carl.
Hey guys, yeah, it's going to be a great weekend. You know, we started out this past week fishing over in Sabine Lake. Man, the fish are really running. They're chasing bait along the shoreline and the jetties. A lot of the captains we've talked to in that area are reporting they're catching most of their fish in about 10 foot of water, 8 to 10 foot of water. And so sneaking over to East and West Galveston Bay, as we're talking about water temps, it's running 85 to 86 degrees this week. You know, the heat index is getting higher every day. So summer's really in full swing here for us in the Upper Coast. Trinity Bay is a little bit cooler, reporting in at 82 degrees, but there's been some really good fishing reported down along the eastern side of the bay, both wading and shore fishing. So go out there and get you some of these real pretty trout. I have a picture today of Logan with a nice one. And so moving right on to redfish here. The area around Seawolf Park has been really hot in the past week. If you're in Galveston Bay, you need to head over that way. The fish are bigger, and just there's a lot more of them being caught around the jetties and the rock piles over there. They're catching them on topwater, live shrimp, shad on a popping cork. Or a fan favorite is the Fish Bites Fight Club shrimp, which was the guys were just talking about that. And we actually have a picture of a buddy of ours, Bill, with a nice redfish that he caught on a fish bite shrimp.
Nice.
So,
all right.
And then, so my home away from home, running offshore this week back, beating up those kingfish. And it's taken us a while this year to get the bigger fish into the area, but they're here, guys. So they just had a tournament over in Surfside, and the kingfish weighed in that tournament were really nice. They were averaging mid to upper 40s, I think a 51, but there was a lot of fish in the 40s So these guys were telling me that they were slow trolling live baits over structure. That was their tactic for the weekend, and it's always a great tactic. You always want to rig with wire leader, 2 hooks. I always run 2 hooks, a nose and a trailer. You don't have to dig the trailer in the meat if you don't want to. You can just let it swing. My personal preference as hook size, I like to use a little 4-aught, 4 times strong eagle claw to ensure you get a good secure hookup on these fish and they don't crush the hook. So I just wanted to show the business end of a kingfish today, why you might want to use wire leader. So,
the business end.
Moving on to another fish that looks like it needs to see the orthodontist. We talked a little about barracuda. You know, it's not a fish we actively target unless it's in a side pot of a tournament we're in. And barracuda are not really a desirable fish to eat either. I don't know too many people that chase them down for table fare. Now, these old sharp-toothed bait robbers are a lot of fun to catch on light tackle, though. You know, they'll get airborne, they'll flip and flop, run you around the boat 2 or 3 times. They are truly a lot of fun to catch, and sometimes you get a great air show out of them. And anytime you're around structure, guys, you're almost guaranteed to see a few barracudas swimming around. Like we talked about with the kingfish, remember the wire leader is a must. And please keep your fingers away from the mouth on this fish. You know, Berkley makes a perfect set of long-handled 8-inch, they're called XCD straight-nose pliers, just for this situation. That's your tip for the week, so you don't get a nickname like Nine Fingers. So check out the picture of this nasty thing.
All right, man. Well, thank you so much. Good report. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the R&R hotspots from the Upper Coast region. He says, inshore redfish throwing top water on, or Fish Bites Fight Club fighting shrimp on a 1/4-ounce jig head along the jetties and the rock piles, and then offshore kingfish troll live baits over the structure, rigged with a wire leader and Eagle Claw 4.0 treble hook.
Lots of toothy photos tonight.
Yeah, man.
I'm loving it. All those nice teeth. All right, the Upper Fresh region is now up with good reports on Lake Fork, but your guide Johnny Geist has another spot up his sleeve. Talk to us, Johnny.
Hey, Rick and Brie. Yeah, I sure do, and it's a big old bass over on Lake Welsh. Hey, you usually don't think of a hot water power plant as a good place to fish in the summer, but most anglers travel to these hot water power plants in the winter, around December, January. That's when those largemouth bass usually start spawning on Lake Welsh in East Texas. But this 1,300-acre lake is owned by American Electric Power Company, is an excellent bass fishing lake in the summer, too. It has an abundance of 2 to 5 pound bass and a growing population of 6 to 8 pounders. Bass must be 18 inches or over to harvest or to weigh in for a tournament. So what makes Lake Welsh such a good bass lake? Well, most anglers will quickly say it's hydrilla and plenty of it. Hydrilla is a magic pill for largemouth bass production. It offers good habitat and cover for bass to hide and feed in. It also provides a bass fry a place to hide and quickly grow to larger sizes. Another good factor for bass is a water current. The cooling pumps from these coal-powered power plants circulates the water, and this seems to stimulate bass feeding activity. The growth rate for Welsh bass is about 14 inches for a 1-year-old bass. So recent surveys also show a growing number of bass over the 18-inch minimum length, and the bass are getting larger over there. Welsh is my favorite lake to fish besides Fork because it's fairly easy to figure or pattern. Usually you can quickly figure out what the fish prefer on any given day and replicate that lure or technique on any area on the lake. Probably the best lure on Welsh is a plastic worm followed by a plastic stick bait, but it's also an excellent topwater lake. I'm not a big believer in the color of the worm, but for Welsh you can't beat a red bug or green pumpkin colored worm in the summertime. Most experienced bass anglers know how to fish hydrilla and catch a bass. Sometimes the bass prefer the edges of the grass. Sometimes they like to bury up under the mats. Some days these bass are on the points, but they really like the outer edges of the hydrilla or in the guts. A wacky rig, drop shot, Carolina rig, Texas rig, and a shaky head, and don't forget the punch rig, are the great ways to catch bass on Welsh. Most days you'll find one of these methods will far outfish the others. You just have to keep experimenting, keep changing until you settle on the most effective presentation for that day. I like to start out when I go over there, daylight in the summer on Welsh using the top water. It only takes a short period of time to know if that's going to work that day. and then I'll start trying to use the different rigs I just mentioned. There's hydrilla all over the lake, plenty of standing timber, some deep structure. Welsh has an intake area, a discharge area, and also a pump ditch that sometimes they pump fresh water in from Lake of the Pines. All of these areas are great places to try, and you usually see some schooling activity on the discharge ditch. As I mentioned in the start of this report, you usually don't think about trying a hot water lake in the summer, but boy, this lake is a special place and a lot of fun to fish. It's not uncommon to boat 20 to 30 bass a day in the summer right now. Here's a picture of my friend Sam Trinko, nice sized Welsh bass he caught this week. Okay, Lake Fork. Boy, the bass and the crappie, got some good news on both of those. The big bass schools are starting to show up on the deep structure. Anglers are having good success on the Carolina rig plastics and football jigs. Afternoons right now, the best time, as it seems this heat is turning on the bass bite as long as we have a good breeze to go with it. The quantity and the quality of crappie on Fork is simply amazing. Brush piles and natural laydowns are holding some good-sized crappie right now. Both jigs and minnows are working good as well. Here's a picture of personal best big bass my customer Brandon Mullenberg caught this week. And right after that, we went out and he got his personal best crappie too, all on the same trip. So pretty good trip.
Sounds like a lot.
Anyway, hope everyone's planning a great 4th of July outing. It's a good time to get out on the lake. And a great news flash just came out. Bassmaster Magazine hit the stands today. Lake Fork's voted the #1 bass lake in the United States, and it's a great place to come.
Well,
let's go catching.
Congratulations on that, Johnny. All right, we're going to go ahead and take a look at the upper fresh hot spots. Johnny says that the bass and the crappie are biting great in the upper fresh region at this time. The bass are hitting soft plastics and jigs in 15 to 20 feet of water, and the crappie are best on jigs and minnows in 20 to 25 feet of water. Bree?
All right, brought to you by the courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue. We're fishing the Garmin Middle Coast region next, but first, let's get a peek at some new products Dave has for us at the workbench. Dave?
We got some new products, but I don't think those boys were talking about my backyard. You know, they didn't know how many fat fish I've been catching in my backyard when they voted that best lake in the United States. You know.
So yours is #1 is what you're saying?
My lake is a pretty good lake.
Yours is a pond, Dave,
That's
not
all
a lake.
I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
All right,
Dave.
We'll be back.
The Texas Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Ameritrail. Load, launch, relax. Fenwick. Turn on the bite anytime. Tie on a Mirrorlure. Diamond Fishing Products. Our reputation is on the line. R&R Tackle. From our tackle box to yours. Berkeley. Your fish, our science. And STARTRON. Cures and prevents ethanol fuel problems.
An entirely new species of extreme predator is moving offshore. The Yamaha 5.6-liter V8 XTO offshore outboard. Extreme big block thrust and power in the industry's first direct injection 4-stroke. Quiet, efficient, powerful, and proven Yamaha reliability. More than an outboard, it's a fully integrated power system. The all-new Yamaha V8 XTO offshore.
The only reel with over 100 years of heritage. ALVEY Sidecast reels allow you to cast over 150 yards with up to 900 yards of capacity. ALVEY's state-of-the-art drag and 22-inch retrieve rate per wind is perfect for any surf challenge. ALVEY reels are manufactured to best practice standards and are in fact so robust that the ALVEY also comes with a 10-year salt and sand warranty. For more information, go to alveus.com.
You know, Dave, people don't know how much what effort you put in to try to make me look good.
Well,
but it's our secret.
Yeah, that's, you know.
But I'm over here.
It's the self-preservation is what it is.
I'm over here. I'm your Vanna White, baby.
Exactly. Right here we got our new Penn Fathom 2. This is a 30 SDP. It's a star drag. It's great for bottom fishing. It casts. It holds 350 yards of 30-pound mono or 985 yards of 30-pound braid. It's got a 4.8 to 1 gear ratio, a really loud clicker on it.
Right.
Full metal body and sides. It's got a machine cut bronze main gear with a stainless steel hardened pinion inside. So, you know, it doesn't, when you got something really heavy on there, nothing's moving in there. You know,
Right.
everything stays really tight. And it's got a Versa drag, which has a HT100 drag washers in it. 30 pounds of drag, which is, you know, more than most people can hold.
That's for sure.
It's got something called a live spindle in the middle, so that the spool is free floating, so it makes really long casts if you want to do that. It's got the line capacity rings in there. It shows you how far you've filled it up. 6+1 shielded stainless steel ball bearings and an instant anti-reverse. It's just a really good, strong, heavy-duty little 30.
Nice.
Conventional. Penn Fathom 2. Go to Penn Fishing and get you one of those.
Now we're going to the Berkley Magic Swimmer.
Yeah, we got the Magic Swimmer. That's the wake version. It's a floating version. It's a 1 ounce bait. It's 5 3/4 inch long. They have a sinking version also and a fast sinking. What really makes these cool and what makes them really work really good is they have a really compressed head and a high back and that jointed body. And what that does is it makes that thing swim like crazy. I mean, It looks so real. It's one of the most realistic looking hard baits I've ever used. And you can retrieve it with just reeling it, or you can jerk it, or troll it even. I mean, it does everything right. The hooks are all matched to the bait for balance. It comes in 16 colors, 7 different sizes, from 3 3/4 inch all the way up to a giant 9-inch version. They also make a soft bait. You know, they make a soft bait with the same shape and joints in it.
Berkley's got it going
yeah,
on, baby.
Go to purefishing.com to find the Berkley Magic Swimmer.
All right.
Next, we have the Starbright oil absorbent sheets. And these are great, you know, if you're going to be changing your oil, messing around with fuel, filling your boat up with fuel. It's good to have a couple of these laid down so anything that spills gets picked up. These things absorb 15 times their weight in oil or any petroleum products, fuel, even grease. So you can put this in any workspace, in your bilge.
And it doesn't absorb water, correct?
No, it repels water. So, you know, if you've got a big watery bunch of oil in the bottom and you stick that down in there, it'll just suck up all the oil, then you can come in later and get the water.
Nice.
You know, it's really great. And that's a 5-pack. They come in a 5-pack and they're 15 by 19 inches. So, you know, there's quite a few of them in there. And like I said, it's really good to use when you're filling up your boat, you know, and you don't have an overfill. That'll go right onto that pad. Next, we got some clothes from Gill. The first one is the shirt. We'll do the shirt. It's an Overton shirt. It's a really nice tech shirt. It has the Expel technology in it, which is a plant-based waterproofing system. I say waterproofing. What it does is water doesn't stick to it. You can throw water on it, and it just jumps off of it, kind of like, you know, like an elephant ear when you drop water on it. It just rolls right off. Same thing with this stuff. Stains, you know, come off easy or don't even stick. Really good fabric. It's got 2 chest pockets, button snaps on it, button down collar, mesh lined in the back with, you know, with big vents in the back with meshes. Also, we have these really cool shorts here real quick, the Expedition shorts from Gill. They have a lot of pockets, really good wire plier pocket here with a fastener, zip up pockets in the front.
I love the fact that you can adjust the waist.
Exactly. They got the waist adjustments on
two
the
different button sizes, so you can make them bigger
or smaller. Yeah.
Or smaller,
which helps me out quite a bit because I'm always trying to make them bigger. But yeah, there you go. And they're
good looking stuff.
They really have a really nice soft lining inside as well. So
good looking stuff. Good
Gil
job.
makes good stuff. Go to gilmarine.com.
All right.
Those pants are looking mighty fine right about now, gentlemen over here. All right, the Garmin Middle Coast region is closing this holiday weekend out. So, Bink, tell us what July is looking like.
Well, July really boasts a lot of low tides for us around here. We deal with southwest winds or we deal with no winds, but we're always dealing with blistering temperatures. And when we get light winds, that surf gets really right, and that's what we're kind of looking forward to for those large jetty trout. East Matagorda Bay has been good while drifting. It's a much tighter fight this time of year with soft plastics, but so we're tossing live shrimp under a mid-coast popping cork and catching plenty of fish. Waders have worked that east end on the mud flats and found trout on mirror she dogs. Reefs in the middle of the bay like Long Reef, Three Beacon, Half Moon, and Barefoot have produced for waders on mirror she dogs and chicken on a chain bass assassins. West Matagorda Bay has been good for waders working sand and grass on the south shoreline near Pascavao. Half Moon Reef has been hot when you can get on it. Wind's been blowing a little bit, but we've the wind has switched out of the southeast now. We got a low barometer. It's been a good week of catching fish. Closer to Palacios, those boats anchoring along the barge and the sunken shrimp boat have been scoring easy limits on live shrimp, rigging that shrimp about 4 foot underneath the cork. Then those reefs off Palacios Point and Hotel Point are doing well. Near Freeport, reefs off the Intercoastal Waterway have been good for trout while people are anchoring. Those walking the nearby rocks and jetty, throwing a topwater early and late in the day, have caught fish right there tight to the granite. Then in Port O'Connor, God Lynn Smith said those deep reefs in the middle of the bay have been good on live bait while fishing out of the boat. Then the waders right there around Pascavao have been doing really well on top waters. And those little swim bait, those little bass and sea shad swim baits, great colors there, bone diamond, mama's chicken. They always produce there over that sand and grass. And then in Rockport, that same pattern's happening in Aransas Bay on live bait for boaters. And then spots in Allen's Bight and Mud Island are doing really well on top waters and soft plastics. Redfish, the points and bows around Oyster Lake and Crab Lake and Matt Island have been good for reds. A boggy lake right around the Intercoastal at East Matagorda Bay has been good, as has Lake Austin and those muddy shorelines around Brown Cedar Flats. Bass drop bow and chocolate bow near Freeport are good for reds on live shrimp and finger mullet. San Luis Pass, which gets the best tidal flow during the day on that end of the bay, have been good for bull redfish on crabs and shrimp. And then again, same really good tide flow around Freeport and the Surfside jetties have been good for reds on pogies and table shrimp. Our Gulf shrimp season opens back up July 15th, and there's a lot of shrimp right there on the beach, and those big old redfish are shouting them right now. Then best action in Port O'Connor has been in the back lake. Tides are dropping, so right there at the mouth of those guts and bows have been good for those reds. Then once again, the jetty, just every jetty from Freeport all the way to Port Aransas are holding good redfish, working the channel side on the outgoing tide and working the beach side on the incoming tide. Offshore, kingfish action for guide Michael Quebeca said they're everywhere around structure and trolling. Like I just said, the Gulf shrimp season is going to open July 15th, and a lot of those kings will be behind those shrimp boats while those shrimpers are culling their catch. Red snapper everywhere from Freeport to Port O'Connor right now. We're dropping down squid at 60 to 40 foot of water. Lighter winds over this weekend has been good for a lot of red snapper in the 15 to 20 pound range. Really good ones. Then we've had best bites for cobia been around wrecks and weed lines, lots of dorado and chicken dolphin. So we're looking forward to our 4th of July holiday weekend. I want to say also that power pole charge system, man, it really works great. I'm having it's just a blessing to have on my boat, and it's really worked good with my trolling motor. And we hope everybody's safe for the 4th of July weekend, and that's just another good report for the Garmin Middle Coast region.
All right, thank you so much, Bink. You did a great job tonight. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the MirrOlure hotspots from the Middle Coast. He said the trout are good at the jetties on live shrimp, under a mid-coast popping cork. Redfish are best along the marshy shorelines on live shrimp while waiting.
Waiting. Sounds great. Just being in
Waiting
water.
or waiting?
Waiting sounds great. Waiting is not good right now. The wait is on, I'm telling you.
Well, Brie, I want to tell you, though, you really look pretty pregnant as
Thanks.
you are and everything. The red lipstick with the red stripes. You really look beautiful. You're glowing.
Thank
Mama
you.
is glowing. Is that glowing or is that perspiration?
It's probably perspiration, and I was gonna say, normally my birthday wouldn't be spent anywhere else but on the water fishing, but the heat's a little hotter this year.
The heat is hotter.
The heat's hotter, especially for this mama right now. So
Yeah.
I will opt for a spa day. I'm getting a prenatal massage.
Oh, yes?
I'm gonna be all
A
alone. and
prenatal
I'm
massed.
So excied. 90 minutes of pure bliss. It'll be great.
And it won't be long. We'll all be
I should probably get a prenatal massage. I think I could qualify.
You could do it.
Yeah.
They do have pressure points that we probably won't want to hit. All right.
You never know.
Stay safe. Happy 4th of July weekend. Have fun.
Happy
Go catch some
birthday, Brie.
fish.
Happy
Thanks, Rick.
birthday.
Thanks, Dave. See you next week.